Well, it's always helpful, I think, for people to have some sort of a basis for why we work so hard and try to do some of the things that we do. A couple of stats that are the two drugs specifically that affect our youth in Lake County happen to be, number one is underage drinking, and number two is marijuana. Ever since the state of Oregon has become a medical marijuana state, prior to that, our youth were not using marijuana in Lake County. 8th graders that used alcohol in the past 30 days are 31% of 8th graders. 11th graders is 56%. Those numbers are higher than the rest of the state of Oregon, and they're much higher than the national average.
But my name is Ray Lozano. I travel both nationally and internationally talking on the topic of alcohol and marijuana, and I've been all across the United States, even internationally. Everywhere you go nowadays, there's problems with alcohol, marijuana, meth. There's all these drugs that are coming out of the Caribbean all the time and overseas, and so I try to keep up with all of that. I really appreciate talking to you guys tonight because I used to work with Partnership for a Drug-Free America for a long time. And you guys remember their commercials? This is your brain. This is your brain on drugs was one of their big ones. And then they had this one commercial which was really good. We did a whole series on talking to your kids about drugs and alcohol. And it showed mom driving in the van and it was silent and the kid was sitting there. And you know, the whole scene is just silent. You just hear the car rolling down the street. They drop the kid off at the school and the mom takes off, and then the tagline is another missed opportunity to talk to your kids about drugs or alcohol. You know, and we put all this together and spent all this money and we're like, yeah, you know, we did a good job, and we sent these videos out and did a survey about 4 months later, and it came back, and you know, everybody was saying great videos, but we don't know what to tell our kids. You know, after we say don't smoke weed or don't drink alcohol, where do you go from there? And so I'm going to give you a whole bunch of information on, you know, what you can talk to your kids about, especially when it comes to marijuana, you know, what's taking place in that arena and alcohol. My whole life has been dedicated to answering those questions that kids have. Why? How come? I never say don't do drugs because it's up to the kids whether they're going to use it or not. I just want them to be informed. If you're going to smoke weed, here's what's going to happen. If you're going to drink alcohol, here's what's going to happen. So I present it in a real non-judgmental way. Same thing I'll do with you guys tonight. But it's crazy what happens, especially when youth use drugs. It's a whole different thing as opposed to somebody that's in their 70s or 80s who are starting to smoke marijuana. And that's what we see all the time on the news. That's how they got it passed in Colorado, is they brought all the senior citizens up and said, do you want to deny these people their medicine? Well, who's going to vote against that? Nobody's going to say yes, you know, let them burn. And so, yeah. So, but what has happened now is because they have made it recreational use, so you can have it just on your person. You don't have to sign up for anything. It has gone crazy in the schools. The schools have gone crazy. There's some reports that are coming out that are connecting violence with marijuana use, and we'll talk a little bit about that tonight. But there's so much information coming out of Colorado right now on how detrimental marijuana is, especially with youth, and alcohol, especially with youth. So we'll jump right into it. Just so we can have a basis of what addiction is and what happens when kids use. This is why addictions in youth start really quick. Average age where kids try alcohol for the very first time in Southern California is age 10 and a half. Outside Southern California, it's age 11. This is where kids encounter alcohol for the very first time. Alcohol goes into your system and your brain registers it as a poison. So it says, I got to get this out of here as quickly as I possibly can. I'm going to make this really easy for you to remember. It gets rid of it 3 different ways, and they all begin with the same exact letter. Whenever you drink alcohol, what do you think the very first way your body gets rid of it? You will? Not vomit. It begins with this letter right here.
Puke.
Not potty. Nice, yeah. That's a good one. Yeah, pee, yeah. Let's just be real simple. Yeah, you're going to pee. Potty, I like that, yeah. If you drink way too much, you will puke. Good. And if you drink way too much, you will pass out. Yeah. So you got peeing, puking, and passing out. These are three different things that are happening in this progression whenever you drink alcohol, but there are also three different indicators of what's taking place inside the brain whenever you drink alcohol. And I asked all these elementary school kids one time, big huge gym of elementary school kids, and I'm like, is it a good idea for girls to pass out at a party? And all the little elementary schools, like they had practice, were screaming, no, you know. And I said, well, good. I said, why is it not a good idea for a girl to pass out at a party? And elementary school kids still raise their hands, you know. So all these little hands start going up, and I called on this one kid in the far back there, and I said, young man in the back, because I, you know, wanted him to shout it out. I said, why is it not a good idea for a girl to pass out at a party? And little elementary school boy stood up, and he goes, because she won't get any cake. And I'm like, yeah, that's right for elementary school kids, right? I read probably about 45 minutes a day to an hour just on marijuana. I can't even look at my mailman in the eye anymore because I get so many marijuana magazines at the house, you know. I get High Times Magazine, Weed World, Bong Monthly, you know, and I just feel like he looks at me like, yeah, okay, you know what I mean? And I'm not at the, I feel like I passed the point where I'm like, I work with kids, you know. I was like, sure, yeah, you do, you know. This is the active chemical in marijuana that everybody's looking for. Really high in THC or really low in THC, you got to smoke a whole bunch of it before it does anything. Really high in THC, you smoke a little bit, bam, you get blazed right away. So the thing is, this is what people are looking for. Now, the reason why it has an addictive level, because what identifies the alcoholic from the non-alcoholic is every time the alcoholic sits down and drinks, he has to get drunk or she has to get drunk. That identifies them as an alcoholic.
Where do you see this in 5 years?
Way more business for me. Yeah, way more business. Yeah. Anytime parents talk to their kids and they call me and they're like, my kid is starting to do drugs, what do I do? And I tell them, do not sit there and go, don't do drugs because what that does is that frustrates the kid and it frustrates the parents because there's so much difference that's happening right here that's taking place. That is so hard because the parent wants to fix it right then, right? And I'll tell them, if your kid comes home drunk, do not sit there from midnight till 3 explaining all the dangers of alcohol because they're not getting it. You need to talk emotion to this kid. It doesn't work when it goes, don't smoke weed because I'm mom. And I said, that does not work for a kid because his brain doesn't function like that. But when you go, don't smoke weed because our family doesn't believe that, and here are the things that are going to take place, and you give the kid information, it makes more connections inside their brain. You guys, my name's Ray Lozano. Thank you so much for this opportunity to speak to you guys tonight, so I really appreciate it.